A to the K.
to the K.
To the K. Hello, one and all. Welcome to the A to the K Wrestling Show. It's tradition now, so we're going to do what we always do. We're going to throw it over to Road Dogg for A to the K's little known fact of the week.
As is tradition.
You didn't know?
As is tradition. So, let me get my notes up, because you think I'd have them up. Not, like this is our first rodeo, is it? So, sticking with SummerSlam facts this week, Anthony. Did you know? We were robbed of a dream match at SummerSlam 2014. A dream match.
Oh, bastards.
Robbed of it. So, it's a match which has never happened in the WWE. Two stalwarts of the Ruthless Aggression era. Batista versus Brock Lesnar. Apparently, that was actually scheduled to take place at SummerSlam 2014. So, the original
You must
plan...
have love the idea of that.
Oh, two big sweaty men slapping meats. Love it. Love it. It's what dreams
So
are
it was
made of.
kind of a mirror match. I know some people disagree
I
because
fucking love a mirror match.
Brock's like a legit UFC guy and Batista... doesn't he do some sort of jiu-jitsu?
He did
But
do
he's
a
not.
little bit of MMA, to be fair. He started
Does
off,
he, yeah?
but before he went to acting.
And now he's all Hollywood. You can't, that's the money maker now. You can't,
Wow.
hit him in the face or anything.
Exactly.
So.
But yeah, so that was the rumour, 2014. That's what we were meant to see. So the original plan called for, obviously, Batista came back, didn't he? Because he'd left and he came back after his little stint in Hollywood. And as we all know, we came back, won the Rumble, and it was meant to be Batista versus Orton to go to the main event of WrestleMania. But Daniel Bryan got in the way, didn't he? Daniel Bryan with his little yes movements and
Stupid Daniel.
ruined it for everyone. I'm only joking. Obviously, what happened with Daniel Bryan was obviously very cool and made for a pretty awesome WrestleMania moments. But if the fans hadn't have turned on Batista, he was going to be booked as the face to essentially beat Randy Orton at WrestleMania, become the new champ, and then they were going to book Lesnar versus Batista at SummerSlam. So. Madness,
Crazy.
Anthony, madness. I mean, it's madness that match has never happened in the first place, let's be honest.
And there you go. Another thing the yes movement ruined. I kid, of course.
We're going to get so much backlash. But to be fair, never say never, Anthony.
Carl.
You just said it yourself. Now he's all Hollywood. It's all about the money maker.
All Batista has
WrestleMania
to do
goes
is turn
Hollywood
up and
next
be
year.
That's to turn up and be like, give me what I want.
Such a shit promo, wasn't it? It was so bad, that. It was so bad, bless him. You think his acting would have improved since that's where he's, now an actor. But
I mean, to be fair, it made us laugh, and he's known for his comic timing. So
this is true. But yeah, so who knows? We may still get this match. Now, if rumours are to be believed, Rock might come back to face Roman. We know John Cena is going to be there in some capacity. Maybe Batista adds to that Hollywood lineup, and we finally get Batista versus Brock.
in some capacity, he's going to be checking people's tickets at the door. He'll be there in some capacity.
It wouldn't be the first time. Remember the WrestleMania didn't have a match, we just sat in the audience for most of the show. That was good.
That was funny. I think I'm going to call it now, because WrestleMania is going Hollywood. We're not going to get Cena. We're going to get Peacemaker. I'm going to call it now.
That might actually happen. Imagine if they actually bring out Hollywood Hogan. Is the controversy, which one? But are the controversies old enough now where they can go, well, we'll bring him out? Remains to be seen.
Yeah.
So yeah,
been quiet in a while.
Indeed. But yeah, another fun-filled fact. And here is Road Dogg to sing us out of the segment.
Oh, you didn't know?
Beautiful. So, let's do it. I'm gonna kick off with Raw this week, and
Okay.
what an interesting kickoff. It was fucking bizarre, to be frank with you. Now, Raw's been opening the last couple of weeks with various people coming out and being like, welcome to Monday Night Raw. So part of me is thinking that they're obviously doing this and getting everyone to say that to build some kind of weird welcome to Raw package at some point. But this week, Titus O'Neil is stood in the middle of the ring to welcome everybody to Raw. And this basically screamed, we're still good, and even though all controversy is happening at the minute with Vince and all that, we need to stick together, pal. We want to make you happy, and by doing good things and spreading goodness. I think they even refer to themselves as a safe haven from all the bad in the world, and it's like
So many people have been rinsing this as well, like, because I think at some point he mentioned something about, like, they don't talk about religion or whatever, like a part of the safe haven things. Like, so many people putting up the clip of Vince versus God, or the fact that NXT currently has a cult. Yeah, don't deal with religion and shit like that. Nope.
No, it's like a new version of that really bad, like, so I say bad, it was awesome at the time, but when they did they'd gone WWF Attitude, and it was like, we never use sex to enhance our image, and there's just two people banging on top of a photocopier, in like the WWE headquarters and stuff like that. I felt like this was a, a version of that.
This was an unintentional, like, DX promo, this. We don't use the word shit. That's basically we don't mock religion. It's like, no, you do.
Yeah, but like, wasn't it just so fucking out of nowhere, like batshit crazy, like, and there's some more batshit crazy shit that they pulled this last week as well. So we'll get into that. But what a weird. Like, we haven't heard from Titus in God knows how long. Was it since him and Hogan co-hosted Mania? That was the last time we saw him.
He's used so randomly, Titus.
And he's just like, I'm the brand ambassador, and we're dead good. And it's like, all right then.
Like, what do you do?
Exactly. Comes out and bloody.
This to me is like WWE have always done, even when it's like totally irrelevant. I get there's controversy at the moment. But they've always just kind of randomly done this. Like, do you remember WrestleMania this year when like Stephanie brought out Gabe Stevenson?
Yeah.
And that was it. It's like, this is Gabe Stevenson, everyone. And then that was the whole segment. It's like, what was that for?
Yeah, I've no
and this
idea.
Is one of them. What was this for, Titus?
Yeah, like, I mean, to me, it screamed like, damage control over what's happening at the minute with.
Although, incidentally, Damage Control would be a great tag team name.
They would actually, to be fair, but they don't do that because they're a safe haven. They're a safe haven.
That's true.
So yeah, just I wanted to comment on just what a weird opening that was.
Yeah. I get you. Well, Carl, the next one is just a slight moan. I'm going to mention it. So, we're getting Bianca versus Becky at SummerSlam again. Now, I have no issue with the match itself. This kind of had to come back around, I suppose. They like doing, like, are we at the third one now, kind of?
Yeah, I think so.
It lasted quite, like, a few seconds. I don't know if it counts, but, but Becky's
it counts.
Okay. That's fair. No, so Becky, obviously, she come out and cuts a promo. Typical Becky promo, no disrespect, but what you come to expect with the old big time Bex there. This is her redemption. She's going to win the title back at SummerSlam. Bianca comes out, rebuttals, typical what we expect. One thing I will give them credit for is they're clearly leaning into the whole, like, I said very early on when Becky come out and beat Bianca as quickly as she did, I would wrongly said to you at the time, Carl, that they're not going to pay this back. They've just done Bianca over and they're never going to pay this back. And I'll give them the due. They're still acknowledging this. This is still part of the long-term story that was embarrassing for Bianca. And, she has a stake in this as well. And that does help the whole feud. Mm-hmm. What doesn't help the whole feud for me, Carl, is Carmella still coming out. And this is no disrespect to Carmella, but I still don't know why she's involved really now.
No.
Like, she was kind of random as a choice anyway. Again, no disrespect. She has been a champion before. She's legit. But it's like, weren't we kind of done here? Why is Carmella still involved in this? Are they going to make it a triple threat? I hope not. But are they going to make it a triple threat?
I feel like whenever they book something that far out, they kind of panic and they can't think of anything else to do that isn't have the match several times until the actual match. And so they have to create these little mini feuds to kind of tide them over until
It's like, your match is loading. Do you want to play a mini game? Okay.
Basically what it is. Because we know it's got no bearing on anything because the match that's booked for SummerSlam is Becky versus Bianca. So
I think this is kind of the thing that pisses me off though. It's like, so you can't convince me that anything's going to happen because we already know the match is Becky versus Bianca. So there's no risk. There's no risk factor here at all. But other than a few little gripes, overall, I'm looking forward to Becky versus Bianca at SummerSlam. Yeah, it should be a banger of a match. And it doesn't feel overdone because the first one was so ridiculously short. It's not like this is the third match they've had now. Come on, it's like this is basically the second, and I'm hoping it'll last like at least 10 minutes or so.
Whoa! As long as everyone has a good time, it doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But no, yeah, I agree with you. I think it doesn't, because a lot of stuff that WWE does, you are kind of like, I can't believe we're still seeing this again. Roman versus Reigns, for example,
all of them.
all of the Roman Empire. So yeah, like that feels like way overdone now. So this doesn't feel that way, which is good. But yeah, this whole little kind of Carmella thing doesn't really need to happen.
I think that's the thing. The road to this match is a little bit janky, if we're honest.
Bit of a janky road. And speaking of janky roads, Cody's cousin. No, so Kevin Owens came back, Anthony, which I was made up to see him because he's been gone for a couple of weeks, and we're like, why? We love him. Where's he gone? So I was made up to see him back. However, I wasn't made up with how he was used upon his return. So he came back basically to do the Kevin Owens show. He had Riddle on as his guest, and essentially Kevin Owens was like, I've been off because I've been in the wilderness taking some time to reflect. I've lost my mind thinking that Ezekiel was Elias and all this good stuff. So he's now come back and he wants to start afresh. He was saying Randy's ill Randy's out injured or whatever. So instead of RK Bro, why don't they do Bro KO or something like that? He called it, which I thought was quite funny. And then Riddle, to be fair, was like, but you're the biggest liar I've ever met in my life. Why would I trust you? And then lo and behold, it was all a setup for Seth Rollins to beat the crap out of Riddle. So he had good judgment in that case. But then Kevin Owens just kind of like slides out and goes up the ramp. So yeah, they brought him back and they basically used him as like the bait for Rollins versus Riddle. Now, don't get me wrong.
I think annoyingly, like, KO's a good talker, isn't he? Like he's really good in the ring as well, but he's a good talker, and they tend to use him for this kind of shit, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it's like, I'm not shitting on Riddle versus Rollins. I think that'd be awesome. But yeah, I just poor Kevin Owens. I don't think the stuff's over with Ezekiel either. So it was, I don't know, just kind of felt misplaced. But he's back at least, so hopefully he's back next week as well.
He's back. He's okay. Anyway. Okay, right. This, I don't know if you'll agree with this or not, right? Because this may be a slight reach here, right? But I want to talk about AJ Styles for a second, right? And they're clearly heading towards Ziggler and Theory, I think. But we had Theory coming out doing his standard heel stuff, cutting a standard heel promo. AJ Styles as sort of basically challenging him. He's saying he's the first in a long line who wants to take the Money in the Bank away from him. But what I didn't like about all this, I don't mind the possibility of these two having a match. That's awesome. Two things I don't like, actually. That the Money in the Bank is now, it's a given that you can take it away from people.
Yeah.
Like, we had a stupid court battle for the last one, right? You're not meant to be able to take the briefcase off someone. That was never a thing. I don't want it to be a thing. Anyway, what I kind of didn't like is Theory, and this is where it might be a reach, Carl. Theory's response to AJ was in relation to, AJ basically took so long to get to the WWE, right? So like he basically says, Theory says his age, AJ was hitting phenomenal forearms in a bar in Georgia, which again, not a bad heel promo, but this kind of reminded me of Cena's whole thing with him. He's like, I didn't do the indies because I wasn't built for the indies. I was built for the WWE. It's like, are we going to keep telling AJ that he's like almost lesser because he didn't go to the WWE straight away? Like, I kind of, this is kind of like something that seems to get done. And I feel like I don't think it's overdone yet, but I feel like this is heading somewhere where it's like anyone who's in a feud with AJ is going to point out that he wasn't in the WWE. To get there. It's like, is that even a thing? Is that even a problem?
I think it's just a way of building cheap heat, isn't it? It's people will be like, no, don't you say that about AJ? AJ's awesome. So it's an immediate way for people to kind of get their backs up, isn't it? But I completely agree with you.
I'm not a big fan.
Well, yeah, no, me neither. To be fair, like especially when it is overdone. But I'm more annoyed with your first point, which is exactly that about the Money in the Bank. Is when it's they're going to turn it into the 24/7 briefcase at this point. Just have someone coming after it all the time and potentially losing it. The whole point is you win the match to have a contract. I don't like you carry the briefcase around just for a gimmick anyway. But the point is, how do you lose your contract that you've got by?
This is the thing. Like I hate to give it praise, but like the whole premise with the Miz was that he sort of proved that Otis like invalidated his contract and so, or that it was so in some way he could take it. It went to this wrestler's court that was for some reason ran by JBL, and that decision was final apparently. But like it's a throwaway comment, I suppose. But like, what was the proposition? Like, because there's nothing to compel Theory to put the briefcase on the line. So aside from the fact that he might be stupid enough to go, yeah, I'll put it on the line when I don't have to. What would compel him? What mechanism would you use to take the briefcase from him? There's no, because they've decided this year. There's no real stakes to this. Like, how does it work? Can you pin him and win the thing? No. Like,
I mean, it doesn't, does it? Unfortunately, Money in the Bank has well and truly run its course. Like, it's done. It's one of those gimmick things. Like, if you think about the Royal Rumble, for example, it used to work so much better when you had the Royal Rumble. There was no other pay-per-views. You won the Rumble. You got your shot at Mania, and that was when your match was. With the Money in the Bank, you can win it. You can keep it, defend. You've got up to a year to use it, and it doesn't need to be there anymore. Like it was cool. It was cool when they first came up with it. Sound, but I don't know. I feel like it has run its course now. They've just run out of ideas.
I don't think it has to have run its course. I think the problem is turning it into a gimmick every time. Like, if you drop the actual briefcase elements, right, and it wasn't a whole shtick for Theory, right, but then suddenly, randomly, he cashes in, it'd be more impactful.
Yeah, that's true. It's kind of like King of the Ring, isn't it? It's like
a year going, we're going to do it. It's just like annoying.
Yeah, it's kind of like King of the Ring. It's like the King of the Ring gimmick hasn't died, but the fact that anyone who wins it becomes a king is what's killed it. So
exactly. It's like, we love a good tournament. Keep the King of the Ring tournaments. That's fine. That is an accolade. But for fuck's sake, why do you have to become all regal all of a sudden?
Well, I mean, look at bloody. I don't know where she even is. Was she injured or what? But Queen Zelina, for example, like she even had a brand new accent and everything, didn't she? It was just like, come on.
That's how poor it is to use as a gimmick, because they're like, well, we've nothing for you at the moment. We've nothing for like an English queen. Not in the WWE.
Yeah.
I assume that's what she was going for with the accent. And anyway, to top it off, Carl, with the points I was making, Ziggler super kicks Theory during the match. The ref doesn't see it, and Theory's counted out. I'm a bit confused by this as well. Like, are they trying to turn him face? Is Ziggler the heel in this?
well, Ziggler's playing a face, which is ironic because. Well, apparently because everyone hates Theory, so they're all like, you cost Theory.
But this is kind of another thing I've always hated about WWE with that kind of thing. It's like the whole idea is like, we don't like that guy, so when
it's the Baron Corbin thing again for you, isn't it?
Yeah. It is. It really is. Corbin, as a heel, did nothing but get screwed over and justified why he was a heel. And it's like, I'm totally on his side at this point. And they're going to do the same again here. Ziggler's doing cunty things, and he's a natural heel anyway. So I felt like, are they trying to turn Theory face? But they're clearly not. So I don't know. It's weird. I don't like it.
It is very weird.
I don't like it.
It feels very random as well.
It's different. I don't like it.
Yeah, it's so weird. Just even having Ziggler involved, I don't get it at the moment. I don't get where they're going, because Theory's already got a US title match lined up at SummerSlam. So what are they building to? Don't get it. So speaking of things I don't fucking get, Anthony, this is the time where I get on my soapbox. I did it a couple of weeks ago about Rey Mysterio. Now I'm going to do it about this, right? Where in the holy fuck did the idea come from to make Jeff fucking Jarrett the special guest referee for the Street Profits versus the Usos at SummerSlam? How does that make any sense to anybody, right? Like,
I don't even get why. Like, this is no disrespect to him when I say this, but why is the Double J even classed as a big deal? Like at this point,
I genuinely don't. I've not, no bones about it. I've never liked Jeff Jarrett, to be honest. I think he's been a fucking shit stain on the rest of the industry, in the nicest way possible, right? He's like that little shit stain. You keep flushing the toilet, and it just won't go away. That's him, and he always rocks up, and always somehow manages to get his little nose involved in everything, and makes it worse every single time. And here he is again. He's been in obscurity for fucking months, right? He pops up on fucking anywhere that he can make a bit of cash. Don't get me wrong, but then all of a sudden he comes out of nowhere to be the head of fucking live events. He's refereeing a match at SummerSlam and there's Ric Flair's retirement match out of nowhere, and it's like, it's Jeff fucking Jarrett. Who cares? I don't get it.
Right? I'm sure there's people out there who love Jeff, right? And are made up to see him. But looking at WWE's target audience, they're going to be like, some old dude is the guest referee. Cool. Like,
exactly.
We're not going to know or care, right?
No.
And when it comes to Ric Flair's retirement match, really, we're gonna use Jeff. That's what we're going to waste that on.
I mean,
this might actually be a retirement match this time.
Yeah, it might be.
Do we want it to be Jeff?
Do you know, right, genuinely, the only reason I can possibly think of for why Jeff Jarrett is involved in this match, because it certainly ain't for the fucking audience who are watching it on the TV, is because the event's taking place in fucking Tennessee. So they've gone, maybe Jarrett will sell some tickets over there for the fucking actual show. That's the only thing, because...
No, he didn't.
Let's be honest, he's never fucking drew a dime in his life, so I don't get it. I genuinely don't get it. He's a terrible Intercontinental Champion, terrible WCW Champion, multiple time as well, and he's just a fucking power-hungry little bitch, and he's got himself right back in the thick of it again. And why? I just don't get it at all. And it's like... But it just doesn't make any sense, does it? This is like Usos versus Street Profits, like fucking 3050 or something. Like, this is the New Day versus Usos. We've seen this match so many freaking times now that it just lost all meaning, hasn't it? So, how do you make it exciting? Certainly not with Jeff Jarrett.
Jeff Jarrett. That's what I always thought this feud was missing.
Yeah, that's it. You've hit the nail on the head. It just, like, but that's what I don't get, though, is it doesn't even make one iota of sense. They've not even explained it. Adam Pearce just got out and gone, it's official, Jeff Jarrett, and then just left it. And he played like that. That's how they ended SmackDown, with a big fucking vignette like thing about Jeff Jarrett to explain to people who he is. Like, okay,
because nobody knows
exactly, and it's like
even the Usos were sat there like, why?
Yeah, so. I mean, I like to think that I'm a very impartial, when it comes to these kind of things. But yeah, fuck Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah, it's when eventually we interview Jeff Jarrett, and you're like, "So, tell us, how did you get into this stellar career you've had over the years?" And it's like, bullshit, Carl.
Yeah, imagine.
I'm confident you would actually veto that, even if we was like, "Yeah, I'll definitely do it. Even do it for free for you guys." You'd still be vetoing it.
I mean, he's not somebody we've ever extended an invite to, put it that way. So. Yeah.
Eventually, he's going to be very upset about that.
Yeah. Eventually.
Anyway, Carl. Speaking of social media sensations, we saw the return of Logan Paul this week.
Yes, we did.
Now, I'm rooting for Logan Paul. I'll make no bones about it. I'm rooting for him. I think he really showed something. I've even gone on record as saying he's had the best debut of a non-wrestling person transition into wrestling out of any of them, right? And that's no disrespect to Bad Bunny, because he's also really good. But Logan from the off, very impressive in the ring, and he's a natural heel. The trouble is, he's trying to cut a face promo, and he's trying to be the good guy, and he's naturally kind of not.
He's just naturally kind of a dick, isn't he?
Anything he said, it's just kind of the way he said it. Not to that sounds like a typical thing. It's not what he said. It's the way he said it. But that's basically what this is. I'm like, he just so naturally fits into the heel role that, like, he actually, I would say, he out heels the Miz, really.
Yeah.
In the heel scenario, yeah. So it felt really weird for me. Like, I'm sure the crowd were meant to get behind it when he was saying about, like, I can't even remember what he referenced Miz's testicles as, but again, falling at that Miz has got small balls thing, and it's like, I think he called them blueberries, maybe. And I'm like, I'm sure that was meant to get the crowd to be like, yeah, he made a ball joke. But again, even that, it's like, God, you're a dick. And but not in the bad way, for that record. He plays that heel character really, really well. And they should just roll with it, and they should let him do it. It just throws me off, man. I don't like it. And then Tommaso got involved, because why the fuck not?
Well, he's like his little lackey at the minute, isn't he? But it's just, yeah, I think you're right. It's not so much, well, it is sort of like what he says, but he's just he's like people just
Let's
look at him
face
and
it,
they just don't like the guy. They're like, how is this guy a multi-millionaire? Like he's fucking Logan Paul.
but look, like this is a weird comparison, but bear with me here, right? I genuinely think it's not what he says. It's the way he says it in terms of charisma, because like he's talking about being a social media megastar, revolutionizing the industry, talking about all the different things he's got accolades for him, which would work for people like The Rock. Like The Rock comes out and he's like, I'm the, trailblazing eyebrow, like it's cocky stuff, but he puts it across in a way that you go, yeah, you go Rock. Logan can't do that.
No, he's just even like
we're just there, like you're so fucking full of yourself, aren't you?
Well, that's it. It's literally just how he comes across. And don't get me wrong, I think Logan Paul is definitely the better of the Paul brothers. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, he's got a natural arrogance about him, hasn't he? That lends itself perfectly to a heel. So yeah,
Exactly.
It does fall a bit flat when he's trying to be like, yes, guys.
You can't deny the guy's accolades. He's obviously got, like, he is a social media sensation. He's got a mind for business. He knows how to make money out of it. He could definitely be proud of all that stuff, but he should be a heel. Yeah. He should be a heel. It would work so well. And I'm rooting for this guy. Yeah. None of this is negative. I just think he should be a heel.
No. And, I feel like this is another excuse for me to have a pop at Rey Mysterio, so I apologise. But I saw something before on Instagram Live.
Never apologise for that.
WWE were doing something, because obviously next week on Raw it's Rey Mysterio's anniversary celebration or something. And they had Logan Paul basically say, like, congratulating Rey. And they're like, I know, I kind of beat the crap out of you last time, but it was Mrs. fault and all that kind of stuff. And, thank you. And then they cut back to Rey Mysterio and he was just like, oh, wow, man. Wow. And it's just like, fucking shut up, Ray. Just stupid Ray. So, yeah.
Speaking of small balls. Row a set. Anyway, sorry.
Yes, that too. So before we move over to AEW, shall we just have a little look at how the SummerSlam card is shaping up at the minute? It's funny this. So WrestleVotes, who's a guy who's apparently pretty sourced in the biz, especially with WWE, has said that apparently internally they are really unhappy with the SummerSlam card. That being, the people who are unhappy with it are the ones who put it together. So that just says all you need to know. But so far we line up with Lesnar versus Reigns 12. We have Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan defending against Ronda Rousey, which is going to be interesting. Like they better not take that title off Liv so soon. So we'll see what happens there. We have Lashley versus Theory. I don't know. You got to imagine there's some kind of Dolph interference or something here, haven't you? That stops him from getting the US title.
You've got to. You
got Bianca versus Becky, which, as we kind of spoke about, will feel somewhat fresh because it's not multiple we-matches. The first one doesn't really count, so this is like the proper rematch. So that'll be exciting. Logan Paul and The Miz, obviously, just spoke about that. And I think we both agree he's got some serious natural talent, hasn't he? For someone who hasn't really done much training. So I'm expecting a decent showing. And obviously The Miz is a seasoned vet now, isn't he? So he should also kind of help him through the match pretty well, I think.
To be fair.
We've got
it's cool, really, because not in quite the same way, but The Miz has been there, so it's a really good one for him to start with.
Yeah, exactly. I think they work well together. They're a good tag team, so I think it'll be a good match. I think this low-key could be the one that steals it, Rollins versus Riddle.
I don't think people are thinking about it, but it definitely could be an absolute quality match.
And to my memory, I can't remember many times where these two have faced off solely one-on-one, especially like in a high-profile way like this, not just a throwaway episode of Raw. So, yes, interesting. Pat McAfee, Baron Corbin.
No one gives a fuck.
And then obviously, Usos versus Street Profits. It was just a bit like, but then you add Jeff Jarrett to the mix.
Holy shit! Match of the night.
Bathroom break. So
I feel like they've looked at it and gone, "This isn't wide enough." Throw a double J in there.
Maybe, to be fair, you can't get whited and slap nuts, can you? So yeah, I don't know. What do you think of the card? How's it shaping up?
Honestly,
does it feel like a big card?
You know what? It's a good card. There's probably a fair bit in there that you go, kind of see what's happening. You know what I mean? Like, you look at the whole Theory situation, like, in some way, he's not coming out with the US title, right? They're setting him up for the main title run, so he's definitely, like, I'm even a little bit, like, the back of my mind going, are they going to make him cash in this night? Like, they throw you off by having him get screwed over for the US title, and then he cashes in?
Maybe.
I don't know, but he's definitely not going to win the US title. Things like that. And I don't know, there's a couple of rematches in there, so it's probably not the best card in the world, but it's certainly a watchable card, isn't it? It's going to be decent.
Yeah, I don't think it looks that bad, to be fair. It feels...
No.
I think
the reason I'm not giving it more plaudits, if you will, is because there's a few rematches in there.
Well, exactly. I think they've tried to treat SummerSlam almost as like WrestleMania's little baby cousin, haven't they, of late? It's like, well, let's try and get some celebrities on there and make it feel like a big occasion. So obviously they've got Logan Paul, they've got Pat McAfee, and obviously Brock and Roman's the big headline, isn't it? So it does feel somewhat weighty for a standard premium live event at the moment. So yeah, I don't think it's too bad. I think we'll see a couple of more additions as well. So yeah.
I love how Nick, you're always on point with the premium live events. You don't ever slip onto pay-per-view. You've fallen into the WWE system so well. I like it.
Well, you know, it's how they get you. It's how they get you. So let's mosey on over to AEW, shall we? And got some new tag champs, Anthony. Now, call me surprised, because I didn't expect this at all. Now, the Young Bucks have only just won the belts, so I thought they'll be keeping them for a good amount of time. And then, yeah, out of nowhere, we've got Keith Lee and Swerve.
I'm a little concerned with it. Like, don't be wrong, tag team champs, fucking ace. But I'm a little concerned whether, like, FTR are going to come back for the belts, and it's going to be a short run for them as well. I don't want them to hot potato these belts a fair bit, but I'm a little bit worried about that.
Yeah.
I want to see what Swerve and the other guy can do there. Keith Lee, I was kidding. But yeah, I'm intrigued, because I've not really thought about them much as a tag team. This is definitely a good way of getting them into people's eye and showing what they're capable of.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
more Swerve than Keith. I think everyone knows Keith's like uber talented guy, and he's got a look about him that is like recognizable. I think someone claimed that the design came from them and they were never credited for it. But I even love the Keenan and Kel reference in the logos and attire and stuff.
Yeah, that is nice. Yeah, I think the reason I was so surprised, they've kind of been teasing these two as not being on the same page of late. So I thought they were maybe going to do, like, you know, the kind of tag team splitting up and, you know, going after each other kind of thing.
Get along. Yeah,
yeah, that usual trope. But no, they put the belts on them, so that's interesting. And I think, considering how stacked the AEW tag division is, somewhat surprising to put it on them, to be fair.
But again, the more I think about it, the more I think it's probably a good shout, because were we even really thinking about them as a tag team?
No.
But this is a good way of getting us to go, you know what, yeah? It puts them in the eye, doesn't it? We're now taking them seriously as a tag team, and that it should be. So I'm intrigued. But again, want some defences. I don't want them to just be like, well, that was a short run. You know, kind of like they did with Scorpio Sky.
Yeah.
TNT title.
Yeah. No, I think you're right.
I mean, to be fair, Scorpio had a bit of a run with the title. I was just being a bit mean.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind a short title if the next one's to win it were the Acclaimed. That's all I'm saying. Anthony, everyone loves the Acclaimed. Yo, listen. Yo,
listen. Listen. Yeah, I don't know. You're probably bigger on them than most people.
No, take it back. So yeah, do you want to talk about the next one?
No.
Okay.
No, of course. Do you know what? Right, I don't know how you feel about this, Carl. I never do. I say that at the beginning. I think everything I say, so I might try and knock that on the head a little bit. But I'm talking about Jericho Kingston here, and so this feud is intensifying, if you will. So, do you know what? This is everything it needed to be. Jericho comes out. He does most of the talking. You know, he's always been great on the mic. He's talked about how Kingston's friends have suffered as a result of the association with him, and that'll be his term in the barbed wire everywhere match, I believe it's called. And the reason I think it works well, and I'm curious to know how you feel about it, is because Kingston's never been as strong on the mic, but his rebuttal was exactly what it needed to be. It was short and sweet. He's vowing to spill his blood and like it. And I think relying on Jericho and the fact that Jericho is and always has been a really great talker is the right way to go about pushing this feud across. And you know what, the whole thing worked for me.
So I don't know. Kingston can be a fantastic talker. A lot of people think he's so polarizing, Kingston, because some people think he's like the best talker going, and other people are just kind of like, well, he's not really that good. Like, he does stuff like cutting a promo on a cookie, and you're like, okay, that guy's good. But when it comes to like the big time, I've always kind of felt his promos have never really landed massively. So it's one of them.
I mean, for me personally, I know, like you say, some people love what he is and what he does, and you know, it's like Jericho's probably not everyone's cup of tea, but I think personally, I've never found Kingston to be much of a. I'm not saying he can't talk; he obviously can, but in terms of being a good talker and like I couldn't think of an iconic promo from Kingston off the top of my head, for instance. You know what I mean? So, you know, he can hold his own better than, let's say, Bobby Lashley on the mic. But it's just, I don't know, for me, the iconic one, the one who'll put this feud in your mind is Jericho, and that's how it should be.
Yeah, I think it's the whole thing's been built up quite nicely between the two of them. Like they can't wait to just destroy each other, which is what you want. And obviously, you need to feel that way if they're going to be going up against each other in a bloody barbed wire everywhere match or whatever it's called. No,
but they're not going to explode this time, so that's good.
Yeah, well, it didn't explode last time, so that's fine. Do. So yeah, I don't know. I think obviously the whole shark cage thing is quite gimmicky because it's Shark Week with you know, was it the JAS who was suspended? I can't remember. I think it's the JAS who was suspended.
Yeah, it's the JAS, I believe. Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's one of them. That feels quite gimmicky, but all in all, it should be quite a brutal match, hopefully. And hopefully,
yeah. I mean, to be honest, I think the Shark Cage, like you say, it's Shark Week, but the Shark Cage thing's a little bit of a distraction from what's going to be a really great match. So I'm not overly keen on that element, but
yeah,
I don't think it's going to like affect the quality of the match.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully it just stops. It just stops all like stupid run-ins and distractions. Just let these two just go to war and see who emerges.
I kind of like it though, like you say, as a mechanism to go. We're not going to get the run-ins and the distractions and all the shenanigans. We're going to just get like a bloody fight between these two. But at the same time, the cage itself is going to be a fair distraction, isn't it?
Well, yeah, probably.
Well, we'll see how they execute it.
I wouldn't mind them doing some kind of, and this is old school now. Did you ever play Another World on the Amiga? One of my favourite games. There was a scene in that where you had to kind of swing back and forwards in the cage to make it fall and land on the opponent. Yeah, I'd like to see something like that. That'd be cool. Hopefully no one actually gets squished.
JAS land on Kingston.
Basically, is what I'm saying. Yeah, but we'll see.
God, I'm not gonna lie. That's not out of the realms of possibility here.
Yeah, crazier things have happened. Now, this next one I'm keen to get your thoughts on because I think this is a massive misstep in all of the good work they've done with Wardlow. Now, they booked his first TNT title defense to go up against Orange Cassidy. Now, I genuinely think that this actually kind of hurt him as opposed to helped him, unfortunately. Now, a lot of people ended up booing Wardlow, which when you consider all the work they did in the MJF feud and to get him to be a proper face and everyone was just chomping at the bit for him to destroy MJF, it kind of just felt like the wrong move to kind of put these two together. And especially when it didn't end up being that good of a match either, in terms of the quality of it, unfortunately. It was just, and it doesn't need to be this way every time. Like, Orange Cassidy's proven that he can have an absolute banger of a match. Look at Will Ospreay versus Cassidy at Forbidden Door, just fantastic. Yeah. He's had fantastic matches with Pac and people like that as well, so he can do it. It's like, again, they had a weird moment with Best Friends where they pulled a chainsaw out, and it was like, well, why? And like Danhausen was under the ring, and it was just like, just let them have a match.
But see, this is the thing. This is exactly what we've just been saying about the whole JAS situation. Too many shenanigans and distractions. Like, we just want to see the match.
Like, we used to always go on about Cody overproducing his own segments, but like, Jesus, a lot of these felt overproduced at the moment.
Maybe that's the problem. Cody's gone, so we haven't got Cody's overproduction to shadow these overproductions. So we're noticing them more.
Maybe, but it was just like this was all the standard tropes of like a best friends type match. Like, they even did the shtick with Wardlow ripping out Cassidy's pockets because then he couldn't put his hand in his pockets, and it was like, but that's a heel move because the fans love it when he puts his hands in his pocket. So, you know what I mean? It didn't do anyone any favors, which is a shame. And I hope it's not. I hope it's just a small blip on, Wardlow's reign, because it wasn't off to a great start, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's time to course correct this, isn't there? But like you say, it's not the best start.
No.
So, Carl, Luchasaurus. Now, I'm kind of digging Luchasaurus' heel run, I'll be honest with you. And I know we've got a personal stake in this, right? But he just straight up killed the Varsity Blondes, didn't he?
Yeah, a little bit.
Now, the negative for this for me, so I'll positives as far as it goes, Luchasaurus come across like the monster he should come across. He makes short work of Garrison and puts both Griff and Pillman through a table. Absolute, yeah, executed the Luchasaurus element really well. Now, I don't know how you feel about this, and I did say I'd stop doing that, but I don't know how you feel about this, Carl. It's a catchphrase. I'm going to make it a thing. I don't know how you feel about this, right? But Christian, he's great promo. I've been giving him credit. Some people think, oh, he went too far with the Jungle Boy stuff, and I was like, no, that's fine. But I'm like, is his whole thing now going to be pointing out is he going to go after people with dead dads so he can keep this going? I don't know. I wasn't too thrilled when it was like, Pillman's sort of like Jungle Boy because his dad's dead too. It's like you know how to cut a promo. They don't have to be the same every time. I get you trying to get heat, but I don't know. I wasn't digging that element of it.
Yeah, I think
I don't know how you
unfortunately
feel about it, but
I feel like that's why this match happened, and I don't want to take away from obviously the wonderful talent of Griffin and Pillman, but I think if Pillman's dad wasn't dead, they wouldn't have even had this match so that Christian could cut another promo. But you know what I mean? It was the perfect.
It's the same fucking promo.
Well, exactly, but it was like the perfect storm of Griff Garrison got confused for Jungle Boy, and Christian had just got a load of heat for talking about Jungle Boy's dead dad. Just like, who do we think of? Do you know what I mean? So, yeah.
Well, I mean, they're very quickly going to run out of options if you need to have some resemblance to Jungle Boy or a dead father. They're going to run out of options very quickly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair, they've now booked a tag team match between the four of these who are involved, so it seems like it's not just like a 1 week thing, but I don't think it's got much legs at all.
No.
To be fair,
I'm really a fan of the Luchasaurus elements, and Christian is usually on point. I just weren't a big fan of the Christian's promo this week.
No, and yeah, it's obviously we do have a personal stake in this because Griff's our boy, but also Luchasaurus is kind of our boy as well, isn't he?
Yeah. Plus, how can you confuse Griff for Jungle Boy? He's no Jungle Boy. He's a man.
Exactly. And just before we end this week in wrestling this week, let's talk about tonight. So obviously we've got Fyter Fest Week 2, Night 1.
Can't wait.
Yeah. So we've got what's booked. We've got Best Friends taking on John Moxley and Wheeler Yuta, I think. So
I think you might be right.
Okay. We got Brody King versus Darby. Now this one's had some build, so this should be quite an interesting one.
I mean, it should be, but let's be honest, Brody King just needs to absolutely tear through Darby.
Well, to be fair, that was what was so good about the Battle Royal. So if he did just rock up and that would be quite cool, to be fair.
This is where I will give credit to Darby as well, because Darby, he'll take some sick bumps for making that look as brutal as fucking possible.
Oh, yeah.
Credit to the man. So this just needs to be an absolute murder, though.
Yeah. I mean, he was taking bumps at a bloody Comic-Con, to further the feud. Did you see all those videos of Brody King just putting him through a table at some Comic-Con he was at? It was like, really? Okay. Nice. So fair play to the guy. We've got Varsity Blondes against Christian and Luchasaurus, as we've just said, so I feel like that's only going to end one way, and it's not going to look too good for Varsity Blondes.
No, I think sadly they're there to take the beating, aren't they? To be honest.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know whether we'll see any kind of. It feels interesting with the Varsity Blondes at the minute. I don't know whether we'll see anything big happen in this. Maybe will we see them break up or something like that? Will we, or will it just be another decimation? Not too sure.
Or we want to see Luchasaurus turn on Christian, and he can become a Lucha Blonde.
Maybe. Maybe. We've also got a trios match. We've got Chris Statlander, Athena, and Willow Nightingale taking on Jade Cargill, Kiera Hogan, and Layla Gray. So obviously they've been having some stuff going on, baddie section, and those three trying to take Jade down. So that's going to be a nice little culmination to that. And obviously the main event: Eddie Kingston, Chris Jericho, Shark Cage, barbed wire everywhere, all the brutality you could imagine.
Brutality.
I think it's going to be pretty brutal, to be fair. So
finish him, etc.
Whoopsie. I didn't have any more menacing Mortal Kombat references, of course.
Wasn't it toasty though?
It was both, I think. So I think it was toasty when like Scorpion
set
did
him on
something,
fire,
but then every now and again they just pop up and go whoopsie for no reason. So yeah, Mortal Kombat facts for days. So so that was this week in wrestling.
That was a fact about Noob Saibot, Cal.
Well, did you know Noob Saibot's name is actually from Ed Boon and John Tobias, who are the co-creators of Mortal Kombat? Their names reversed.
And now you know.
Now you know. Yeah. And he's also the original Sub-Zero who died. That's who Noob Saibot is. Sub-Zero with a scar on his face? Not the real one. No.
No, just a lame imitation.
So yes, you joined us for This Week in Wrestling and Mortal Kombat references. Let's totally do that. Let's speak to Ed Boon. He's a legend. So yeah.
We can work in there somehow.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll make it.
I'm sure there's a wrestler been involved in Mortal Kombat in some way that we could justify it.
Well, Midway, start making some of the early wrestling games, so maybe he had some involvement in that. We'll get him that way. It'd be cool. So, another fun-filled week, and we got a lot of interesting news on some returns coming in the news this week, as well as updates on Raw potentially moving to TV 14, and we're going to have our first debate. Not the first debate we've ever had, because we debate on the reg, really. But this is the first branded debate about whether the Attitude Era was the best era.
And actually, did we decide? Did we get a result on who's arguing for and who's arguing against, Carl?
So the people spoke, and you are arguing for. So it's my job to argue against. So bring it on. I
got you.
So until next time, here is the one and only Griff Garrison, who hopefully isn't going to be brutally destroyed by Luchasaurus later tonight, to say goodbye.
This is Griff Garrison, and you're listening to A to the K.
A to the K. A to the K.
To the K.